afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and I source cars for people on a professional basis, hence the name of my channel, Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. 4 years ago, I was asked to come up with a series of videos that were filmed inexpensively. We don't use digital cameras, we don't use fluid head tripods, we don't use shotgun microphones, we wear tattered shirts, we just use a phone. But we look at cars that you can buy for a budget up to £1,000 only, and we very much enjoy ourselves. These are cars that might be in cosmetically bad condition. You might see oil leaks, rattly dashboards and cosmetic imperfections, but we go all over the country and we find these very inexpensive cars that you all seem to enjoy watching. So picture this scenario, viewers. You have made one of the best received Super Minis ever with the 205 and you need to replace it. You've had one go at replacing it already with the 106 and the 306, and that hasn't quite worked. In fact, people still want the 205 to such an extent that it remains in production alongside the 106 and 306. What do you possibly do? Well, you make a direct successor, the 206. I've actually wanted to get one of these on the channel for quite some time, and Alex, who has a huge number of other interesting cars that have appeared on the channel since 2021, this is his daily car. It's a 2001 206 1.4 GLX. Now, the wheel trims on this are not original to the car. They've got Peugeot badges on them, but they are most certainly not original to the car. There are a couple of things sort of up with it. It is, you know, got some paint issues going on. We've got dents and things, but you know, this is no budget reviews, viewers. What exactly is it that you expect? And can you buy a 206 for under £1,000? Yes, yes, you can buy a 206 for under £1,000. Of course you can. So this is Peugeot's best-selling car to date. I think they've made somewhere between sort of 8 and 9 million of these. They do remain in production, I think, in Iran to this day. Loads of other markets had them as things like the 207, it was called 207i, 206 Plus. Company called NASA, I think, made it for the Malaysian market. Gosh, there's a terrible kind of light there. Sorry, viewers, just the way it goes on this channel. But is it actually any good, this car? Well, let's have a look inside, shall we? So this is the GLX, which actually is quite well equipped. Bizarrely, although we've got climate control, we don't have a sunroof. You could argue we don't need one if you've got climate control. We don't have electric rear windows, which is interesting. Also, to make the car a bit cheaper, Peugeot have put the window switches down there, but what they haven't done is switch the wipers from left to right hand drive. They have kept them the same, which I've always found to be a very odd decision, but never mind. So we've got, I think we've got the tyre pressures in there and things like that. Ooh, pression contrôle pneu froid. That's my French degree there, viewers. Okay, we've got steering wheel controls, which is good. That's a positive thing. This radio's been changed, obviously, for a more modern one because this is in daily use, which is good. Nice instruments. They're very nice and clear, aren't they? They seem to be similar to a 306, which is not a surprise. I thought, actually, I've never driven one of these before, that the driving position of this would be quite poor. I've heard that it is, but it doesn't seem too bad to me, to be honest. Sort of typical of the era, really, sort of late 90s, over 2000s. The dash is kind of sort of hard and textured plastic. Steering wheel showing signs of wear, but if you've done 117,000 miles, wouldn't you be showing signs of wear too? So there's the climate control down there, which is good. Not so good is the fact that this gear knob has sort of fallen apart, and so it's been mended with tape. I'm sure Alex is going to get a new one of those at some point. Electric mirror switch down there, electric windows, cigarette lighter. That's for the alarm, I think. No lid on here or anything. We've got controls here for the seats. It's okay, yeah. It feels alright, actually. Driving position is not as bad as 106. 106, the pedal box is terrible. This is a lot better, actually, I have to say. And we've got some nice big door bins here too, and the fabric actually quite nice in here as well. So yeah, it's not too bad. It is a little bit darker in here than I thought it would be, but it's okay. And the hazard light switch, which I don't know whether or not you think this car is going to be reliable if you buy one, but it is there, just in case you need it.
I'll just knock this and then I'll be out your way.
Oops. A 3-door and a coupe convertible CC, and the SW like an estate, and this 5-door, which I think was the most popular body style. Not the most amount of room I've ever experienced in the back of a car. This is my driving position. I'm just around 5'11". My head's right against the ceiling, and well, my legs do go in. Let's see if I can pull the other leg in. Oh gosh, dear me. It's not looking good in here, viewers. Yeah, it's right. We've got 3 seat belts. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend this for anybody who's too tall to go in the back for any length of distance. I think this 206cc is actually worse than this in terms of getting in the back. Okay, if I sit right upright and get my... Yeah, okay, I can get in. Just about. Yeah, it's not going to be very good for me. I'm going to need a bigger car, aren't I? Mind you, look at these door pockets. They're huge. And yeah, there's little windy windows in here. Why was it discoloured so badly? I don't know. Obviously, this car is 22 years old, so that might be something to do with it. And also, let me free my foot, which is kind of trapped at the moment. Okay. I think actually the back of this car, it's quite an interesting sort of design. It does look sort of handsome. So we open the boot. Quite a practical shape. Actually, we've got a CD changer in there as well, which is left over from the original stereo. That's handy. So GLX, lots of luxury going on. Just wish we had electric rear windows. And of course, ooh, what's the point of looking under here? Do we have a spare, or is it not here? Oh, it's not here, is it? It's under the floor. Typical sort of older Peugeot design, that sort of thing. 205, 106, 306, that kind of stuff. I think maybe like 250 litres of there actually of space. That's not bad. So driving position quite good. Front not bad. Let's have a look at glove box though, because that was something on French cars of its time that perhaps wasn't the best always. Actually, that's not bad. I'm not sure I get my secret mission documents in there, viewers. I mean, we'll pull them out and have a look. But the sort of fashion later on was for not moving the fuse box, so the glove box on right-hand drive cars is full of fuses, but that's actually okay. These were made until 2006 in Coventry, at Brighton on Dunsmore. I don't know about this one. We'll have a look under the bonnet and see if we can see, but it's so strange that a car that was, you know, made in Britain and lots of other places in the world, of course, they didn't bother with the right-hand drive wiper pattern. Yeah, interesting. So the 1.4 TU engine, identifies the TU engine straight away by the oil filler cap actually. In this case generating 75 horsepower. So we have TUs, they came out in the mid 1980s in the 205 and some other cars as well. These can suffer from head gaskets. It's not been unheard of. Obviously it's a very similar car in many ways to, I don't know, Citroen C3, the 106 and Saxon were the same as well. They also use TU engines. But it's not as common as something like a Rover K series. So just be wary of that. It's not necessarily inevitable or anything on this. But yeah, routine servicing doesn't look too bad. I can't see the gearbox, which is a bit of a shame. Normally that's a sign of the ease of access, but yeah, it's not too bad. Don't know how we tell whether this car was made. I can't see any little plaques or anything that tell me, but yeah, not much to say really. We've had lots of TU engines on here before, but better than the later Prince engines, which these never had, which is good, I suppose. Right, let's go out for a drive, shall we, Biz? So the basic engine in a 206 was a 1.1 with just 60 horsepower. This one is 1.4 with 75 horsepower. Later this 8-valve engine was changed for the 16-valve engine, developing 90 horsepower. To be honest, this engine feels really flexible actually. There's plenty of torque, and I don't know if the 16-valve engine would have had just quite the same feeling as this. Obviously, I'd have to try one of those to be able to tell you. Above that was 1.6, first of all, with 90 horsepower. Obviously, that was kind of replaced by the 1.4, also the same power output. But that engine was later increased to 110 horsepower, which I'm sure made this car feel really quite nippy. Even more nippy with the 2-litre engines. First of all with 140 horsepower, and then in the GTI 180 horsepower. There are also some diesels available, but as usual, due to controversial government legislation and all kinds of other reasons, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. So I don't know how many of the engineers who originally developed a 205 worked on a 206, but it kind of does feel a little bit like that. The drum position is probably a bit better actually than 205. I've driven a couple of those. I never really got on with that very well. This feels a bit more modern, probably less characterful, but in the context of 2023 it does feel very much like an older car, which of course it is. It was designed in the mid-1990s. So interesting that these cars had such a long life, even in the UK market. This car was sold until 2009, alongside things like the 207, which I don't like particularly, viewers, and the 107, which is probably maybe a better bet really than what the 207. See how good it is for going round in this turning here. First, don't we? There we go, first. That's pretty good, it's a good turning circle. It feels pretty lively. I mean, 0 to 60 is well under 10, well over 10 seconds of this, but it feels good. Gear change is a bit floppy, it's typical sort of Peugeot Citroën of the era, but that's okay, you know, it's done quite a high mileage for this car. Yeah, it feels alright, the suspension's quite compliant. Probably got some warm bushes and things in here, but that's absolutely fine really. Yeah, it's got a good sort of kind of lively character to this little car. I wouldn't say this is, you know, my favourite little small car of the era. There's quite a few others I think I would probably prefer, but it's alright actually. I can see why so many people bought these, and actually loads of people who own 205s and 106s would have come and actually just picked one of these up. Even with the ones that were later, they were all called Look after 2006, which is when the 207 came in. I would just much rather have one of these than one of those. We don't have to deal with the Prince engine, which we don't talk about, viewers, on this channel. Yeah, so I can see why Alex used this as a daily car. It's absolutely fine. These do absolutely eat exhausts though. They probably will just last a couple of years if you put a standard mild steel exhaust on them. But that's not particularly difficult to change or anything like that. I imagine these might rust from the inside out like the 306s do, which is quite common. So you've got to watch for that. You've got to make sure you do the cam belt on the TU engine and watch for head gasket failure, although it's not like inevitable particularly, but it does happen. There we are. My gosh, sensible buying advice from No Budget Reviews. Who would have thought it? Lloyd Vehicle Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. Let's now quickly have a look at some Peugeot 206 trim levels, and there were a lot of them because this car was made for a very, very long time. L, LX, GLX, Style, S, SE, Roland Garros, Quicksilver, Urban, Verve, XS, XSI, Sport, GTI, GTI 180, Look, Look 2, Allure, Black, Eco, Entice, Fever, Grand Tourisme, Independence, Silver, Sport 3, Zest, Zest 2 and Zest 3. Other names it was known by were 206 Plus, 207 Compact, 206 Brazil, 207 Compact, 207 Brazil, 207 Sedan, which is very confusing, 207i, the NASA 206 in Malaysia, and then the Citroen C2. Yes, the Citroen C2, like in China. Built in Moulas and Poissy in France, obviously right on Dunsmore in this country, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Iran, China, Malaysia, Spain and Indonesia. So viewers, should you consider a Peugeot 206 with your hard-earned budget of up to £1,000? Well, if you can find a good one, I don't see why not. I mean, this car is quite well equipped apart from the rear electric windows. Some of them you get the nice sunroof as well. This one doesn't have one. And yeah, but I've heard people say the driving position of these is really bad, but I found it to be okay. Probably because I've just driven a Yugo. That might be something to do with it. But yeah, you've got to make sure it's not rusty. You've got to make sure the engine's in good health, and you know, the electrics and things work in these, and things don't fall like the gear knob. But you know, I've quite enjoyed this actually, much more so than I expected. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more inexpensive motoring.